Hi guys, so thankfully this dreadful year is approaching its end, and with that comes me telling you all my favorites of the year, such as comebacks. I already did a favorite comebacks of the first half of the year, but instead of doing favorite comebacks of the second half of the year, I'm just gonna do favorite comebacks total. Last year my lazy ass only did my top 5, but this year I'm gonna do my top 10, plus 2 honorable mentions, though I won't explain why for those 2. Since then it would basically be saying my top 12 instead of 10. For my rankings, I based it off of 3 categories: title track, album, and stage/promotions. The last category doesn't matter if the first 2 are both a 10 out of 10, but I included it just in case. I also decided not to include comebacks such as singles, since the album category wouldn't be able to be accounted for, so single releases such as Dessert won't be on here. Despite me loving the comeback, even if there's one B-side besides the title track, that still won't count, since it's not at least a mini-album. To make it fair, I only chose 1 comeback per group, so if one group came back 3 times, only one of their comebacks are on here. Debuts do count, but, as mentioned, only if it's a mini-album debut. Last thing I want to say is that this is my opinion, so I doubt anyone will 100% agree with me, but please respect my ranking and don't get upset if a comeback you loved isn't on here. But anyways, let's get into my favorite comebacks of 2020. Let me just say that it was such a tough choice to choose between It's Me and Not Shy, but I decided to go with the comeback that had my favorite title track, which so far is Wannabe. This comeback was such a great comeback, and a great way for ITZY to start off 2020. The reason I hesitated to choose It's Me over Not Shy was because the Not Shy album has what I believe to be my favorite ITZY B-side, which is Surf. However, I ended up listening to more B-sides on It's Me than on Not Shy. Wannabe stages were amazing, and I think Wannabe is also my favorite dance from them as well. It's Me being the last ITZY era kinda saddens me, but I think ending that saga with a bang like Wannabe was a great finale. I'm going to be honest, I had this comeback higher, but after a closer look, I really only listened to 4 out of 6 of the new songs we got on this album, but the album was still really good. I am sad that they only gave us 8 songs in total. I don't think that we picked songs that would fit together on the album, and that's why we excluded some as an excuse. Since they decided to include Ice Cream on this album, the title track is probably my favorite Blackpink title track, and the B-sides such as Love to Hate Me, You Never Know, and Pretty Savage are for sure in my top 10 favorite Blackpink songs. I for some reason did not pay much attention to the stages, but the ones I saw looked good. I think if there were more songs this comeback would be higher, but overall, it was a good comeback. Putting this comeback this low pained me, but I couldn't find myself placing it any higher. 2020 was a great year for music, yet as Red Velvet is my ultimate group, it also pained me, as Red Velvet didn't have a proper comeback. I've already cursed at SBS in a past video, so I won't say that again, but I am glad we at least got a subunit debut, which was an excellent debut, I shall say. Monster is probably in my top 10 favorite K-pop songs of this year, though I'm struggling to pick my favorite, so I'm not 100% sure, but most likely, the album is great as well, although maybe not as strong as Red Velvet albums are. It was really good. I honestly think I would have lost my reveled mind if we didn't get this subunit, so I guess I shall say thanks SM for not completely neglecting them. The stages were amazing and I love the dance. I also love Naughty, which I am including as part of this comeback. SM, don't pull OGG on Irene and Sulji and please give them a comeback soon, but after Red Velvet, or my first world problem ass might lose it. If you don't know, Kai was my first ever bias, as EXO was my first ever K-pop group and the reason I got into K-pop. 6 years later he still is my bias, so you bet I was excited for his solo debut, and I was not disappointed. Every song on this album slaps, especially Amnesia, which I think should have been the title track instead. The title track, which I am not even gonna make this stupid bot try to pronounce, is good, but as mentioned, it's not the best on the album. The stages have been flawless and overall the comeback is amazing. I've never bought soloist albums before, but Kai became the first and I have no regrets. I also just want to say thank you SM. Despite it being later than I wanted, you did something great for once.
Ever glow forever, let's go. Got no time for haters, 모두 다 집어치워버려.
Like Itzy, I was debating between choosing between the two Everglow comebacks this year, but I decided that this comeback, which I honestly don't know how to call it so I'm just gonna call it La Dida, was overall better. First of all, the title track is most likely my favorite Everglow title track, and we also got my favorite B-sides from Everglow as well. I made a video a while back ranking all Everglow songs, and I just wanna say that's already inaccurate because Good Boy is higher now and No Good Reason is probably my favorite B-side from them. The stages might not have been my favorite, but they were still really good, and I love the dance as well. The only thing I didn't like about this comeback was the lack of songs, which honestly isn't even a bad thing. I just don't like how they keep giving us only 4 bops instead of 5 or 6 like other groups. But overall, I love this comeback. I hope Yerin and Shihan get well soon and they are able to come back stronger than ever.
My love is waiting for you. My heart is beating for you. Number fairy tale.
The comeback that surprised me. I did not expect me to fall in love with the G-Friend song so much nor so fast. I don't stan them, but I do listen to them occasionally. But let me just say that I have listened to Mago so many times it is no doubt in my top 10 favorite K-pop songs this year and even has a slight chance of being my favorite. I listened to Mago once and thought it was nice. Then when I listened to it for the second time I found myself addicted. I don't know what it is. I just love this song. But enough with me ranting about the song. The comeback overall. I love the album. Although I don't listen to it as much as the title track, I do like it. The stages and dances are also amazing, especially the stages I shall say. To be honest, the title track is the reason this comeback is so high, but overall it was excellent. I don't know if I'll suddenly stan G-Friend, but I am definitely paying more attention to them in the future. Lee Taemin proving once again he just can't come out with a single bad song. First of all, the fact we got 2 albums from him. I didn't expect SM to ever do that with a soloist but they did. Although I obviously prefer Act 1 better, the overall saga was amazing and every song was a bop. The reason I love Act 1 better is because I prefer Criminal over Idea, and I like the majority of B-sides on Act 1 better than Act 2. B-sides like Black Rose, Strangers, Waiting For, and Just Me and You, are what makes me love the album so much. I feel like I'm constantly repeating myself saying the dance was amazing but for Criminal it was so creative and, like always, amazing. If you haven't listened to this album then I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you should bless yourself and listen to this spectacular album and then listen to Act 2 right after to bless yourself even more.
Please, I don't want to scream. Double. Ours, come, 눈을 뜬다 눈을 뜬다.
It feels so sad that Korea hasn't fully waken up from sleeping on Dreamcatcher, and how they come out with incredible comebacks such as Tree of Language yet still haven't gotten their first win. This comeback was amazing, and probably one of my favorites of Dreamcatcher. Scream was such an amazing title track, and the B-sides were also fantastic as well. In the Frozen, Sahara, Red Sun, and more are incredible B-sides and what's made this comeback so amazing as well. I also loved how we got a Xi'an solo before, which was such a bop. Dreamcatcher can't come out with a bad album, so I'm not surprised this album was a masterpiece. If you're one of those people who are sleeping on Dreamcatcher, then it's time to wake up, because you're missing on legendary songs and legendary comebacks.
하나를 감시하는 저 spotlight 비칠수록 어둠 속으로 빨려들어 끝이 보이는데 I know it's not right I can't stop me, can't stop me no.
First of all, I want to say sorry to anyone who prefers More and More, but this comeback completely blew More and More out of the water. Like comparing the two isn't giving injustice to Eyes Wide Open, but to me they're not on the same level. Don't get me wrong, I liked More and More as a comeback, but compared to Eyes Wide Open, not as much. Now to talk about Eyes Wide Open, an incredible comeback, and probably one of Twice's best. The title track was incredible, so incredible my lazy ass even learned the dance to the chorus, which I tried for other songs but I just gave up for various reasons, but not for I Can't Stop Me. I am still unsure if I Can't Stop Me is my favorite title track, or if Knock Knock remains as my number one, but it is definitely one of their bests. Now, let me talk about what I love the most about this comeback. Up No More. I still can't believe this is only a B-side. This song is a masterpiece. It's no doubt my favorite Twice B-side track and might even be my favorite Twice song. The other songs were good, with only one or two songs I don't listen to that much. The one thing I didn't like that much is I feel Momo got robbed in the line department. I don't mind her being last, but how last she was sort of, well, first world problem I know, but upsetting. But her happiness is what matters, so it's not exactly a big deal as long as she doesn't mind. Overall, Eyes Wide Open is probably my favorite, or one of my favorite Twice albums, and I am so happy they ended this year with such a bang.
길을 걸을 때 나를 감싸주던 따스했던 네 맘이 그리워 발을 맞추며 설레어 하던 사랑했던 우리가 그리워 난
Some of y'all are probably shocked, but to me nothing else could be number one. Despite this being one of the first comebacks of this long and painful year, it still remained one of the bests to me. I don't know how many of y'all have just listened to Winter Flower, but if y'all haven't listened to the whole album then you are missing out. The title track, which is Dark Cloud, is amazing. Although not as good as Winter Flower, it still slaps. The B-sides are incredible, no skips at all. All songs are in my top 50 favorite songs of this year, no question, no doubt. Another reason I put this comeback as my favorite is because of this. I discovered Yoonha, and all her songs, including Run, which is now my favorite K-pop song of all time. There wasn't a dance for this, but the stages were pretty and I enjoyed watching them. I mentioned earlier how Kai was the first soloist album I bought. Well, I ended up getting Unstable Mindset for Christmas because I couldn't resist. I am so glad I discovered such an amazing artist, and I don't think I will ever shut up about how amazing this comeback was. A great way to start such a crappy year. This comeback was no doubt my favorite of 2020. That is it for my ranking of my favorite comebacks of 2020. I talked way too much, but all were amazing, so I honestly don't care. If you want, comment your favorite comebacks, or if you share the same favorite comeback. I hope you enjoyed this video. Okay, bye.
What do I call you? 남이잖아. 이름이 역시 무난할까? 그렇게 꼭 껴안았는데. So what do I call you now?